Hi everyone, in this lecture we will be discussing Introduction to Business Statistics. So, why do we need to study statistics? As we know that data is present everywhere and statistical techniques are being used to make many decisions that affect our life. No matter whatever career you choose, you make professional decisions that involve a lot of data. An understanding of statistical methods will help you in making these decisions effectively. The applications of statistical concepts in business world are as follows. In finance, the correlation and regression analysis, indexing of the numbers, and time series analysis is of great use. In marketing, hypothesis testing, chi-square test, and non-parametric statistics are used to understand how the market behaves and how the products are performing in different markets. In personnel management, hypothesis testing, chi-square test, and non-parametric tests are performed to understand the behavior of the employees. In operations management, hypothesis testing, estimation, analysis of the variance, time series analysis are carried out to understand how to forecast the demand and how to store the inventories in the warehouse. Now let's understand what is statistics. Statistics is the science of collecting, organizing, presenting, analyzing, and interpreting data to assist more effective decision making. Statistical analysis is used to manipulate, summarize, and investigate the data so that useful decision making information is done. There are different types of statistics. First is the descriptive statistics and second is the inferential statistic. Now let's understand what is descriptive statistics first. Descriptive statistics is the method of organizing, summarizing, and presenting the data in an informative way. On the other hand, inferential statistics includes the methods used to determine something about a population on the basis of sample. Now let's understand what do we mean by population and sample. Population refers to the entire set of individuals or objects of interest or the measurements obtained from all individuals or objects of interest. On the other hand, sample is a portion or a subset of the population of the interest. So, we can understand what is population and sample from this figure. Let's suppose we have to understand or we have to test the performance of all the cars. So, the bigger entity, the bigger set is referred to as population, which includes all the items. Whereas if we want to test some of the cars, then the item selected from the population which will create a subset is referred to as sample. Inferential statistics includes estimation and hypothesis testing. Estimate the population mean weight using the sample mean weight. Based upon the sample, we can estimate the measure of the entire population. Hypothesis testing refers to the testing of some claim that is being made, and in inferential statistics, that claim can be tested from a given set of sample, and that same claim can be used to make inference for the entire population. The inference is the process of drawing conclusion or making decisions about the population based upon the sample result. Now let's understand what is sampling. Sampling is a process in which a sample is made out of the population. A sample is a representation of the entire population. Sampling can be with replacement and without replacement. With replacement is a member of the population may be chosen more than once. For example, picking a candy from a bowl. Without replacement is a member of the population may be chosen only once. That is, for example, creation of a random number or picking a ticket from lottery system is an example of sampling without replacement. Now there are different methods of sampling. Let's discuss them one by one. Sampling methods can be random and they can be non-random. In random sampling, each member of the population has an equal chance of being selected. In non-random sampling, the members of the population have some kind of a bias in getting selected into the sample space. The actual process of sampling causes sample errors. For example, the sample may not be large enough or representative of the entire populations. Factors not related to the sampling process may cause non-sampling errors. A defective counting device can be a non-sampling error. Now let's understand some of the random sampling methods. In random sampling, the first method is simple random sampling, in which each sample of the same size has an equal chance of getting selected. Stratified sampling, on the other hand, is when we divide the population into different groups called strata and then take a sample from each stratum. Cluster sampling is based upon division of the population on the basis of different clusters. In this, the population is divided into different clusters and then the members of the sample are selected randomly from these clusters. Systematic sampling or systematic sample is a random sampling method in which the starting point of the sampling is taken and every nth item of the data from the population is picked up. For example, if you are selecting every fifth item from the population to be in your sample, then it will be an example of systematic sampling. Now let's understand descriptive statistics. Descriptive statistics includes collection of the data, presentation of the data and summarization of the data. Collection of the data can be done with the help of surveys and questionnaires. Presentation of the data can be done in form of graphical presentation, in form of tabular presentation. And summarization of the data is done on the basis of the measures of central tendency. Now let's understand them one by one. The statistical data is the collection of data that is relevant to a problem being studied under the research. It is commonly very difficult, expensive and time-consuming part of any research project. Statistical data are usually obtained by counting or measuring items. Primary data is the data which is collected specifically for a particular analysis. It is also referred to as the first-hand information. Secondary data is the data which has already been compiled and is available for statistical analysis. The secondary data is the second-hand information. It includes data collected from census, data that is present on different websites, data present in journals, etc. A variable is an item of interest that can take up different numeric values, whereas a constant is a fixed numeric value. In statistics, data is usually obtained by counting or measuring the items. Most data can be put into following two categories. First is the qualitative data and other is the quantitative data. Qualitative data is the data which tries to measure the qualities or the attributes of any population. For example, hair color, ethnic groups. Quantitative data is the data which is numeric in nature. It can be measured. For example, distance traveled, number of children in the family, age, and number of members in the family, etc. So qualitative data generally describes the data in form of words. It is not widely used as quantitative data because many numerical techniques don't apply on qualitative data. So it doesn't help you in finding any sense, like to find the average hair color or blood type. Qualitative data, on the other hand, includes two types of values, that is diatomic and polynomic values. Diatomic values are which are usually having two options like male, female, and colors like black and white. Polynomial qualitative data is the data which can have more than two options, like education level, so primary education, secondary education, graduation, post graduation, etc. Quantitative data is usually the data that it takes numerical values, and it can be discrete and continuous. Discrete, that is, it takes unique values which are different from each other, and continuous, which are in range. So we can say that data is of two types. We have qualitative and quantitative. Qualitative is of diatomic and polynomial, and quantitative is of discrete and continuous. Now there are different scales of measurements. First is nominal scales. Nominal scales refers to the categories in which the numbers of respective observations is recorded, and these categories are mutually exclusive to each other. Ordinal refers to where you contain an order. It consists of a distinct categories, and there is an order implied. For example, a 5-point Likert scale is an example of an ordinal scale of measure. Then interval scale. Interval scale is used for continuous data type, where numerical measurements are done in form of numbers which are not discrete. And ratio is also used for continuous data type in which the numerical values have a ratio, like you have distance, you have temperature. These are some examples of your interval and ratio data type. Now let's understand what is data presentation. Numerical presentation of qualitative data can be done in form of pivot tables and contingency tables. Pivot tables are a qualitative diatomic statistical or presentation of the data, in which you have columns, and there are two columns, and you present the data accordingly. Contingency table is the qualitative statistical attributes from which at least one of them is polynomial, that is, it is having more attributes. Then we have frequency distribution tables. Frequency distribution table shows the frequency or the number of occurrences of each individual items in different several categories. Frequency distributions are used to summarize large volumes of data. When the raw data is measured on a quantitative scales, then frequency distribution table can be formulated. The steps of drawing a frequency distribution table is that we need to determine the number of classes, we need to determine the size of each class, we need to determine the starting point of the first class, tally the number of values that occur in each class, and prepare a table of distribution with the actuals and the relative frequencies. Frequency tables includes absolute frequency, relative frequency, and cumulative frequency. Cumulative frequency actually shows the total number of occurrences that lie above or below a certain key value. Next is the graphical representation of data, which includes charts and graphs. So as we know that pictures are more effective in displaying large quantities of data, and a picture creates a greater impression in the minds of the people who are seeing the data. So the graphical methods of representations are more impactful. So the first method is histogram. Histogram is a table which is frequently used to graphically present the data. In this case, it is usually used when you are dealing with interval and ratio data. The adjacent bars indicate the numerical range, and the length of the bar depicts the frequency. So this is the figure of histogram. So these are the bars. These bars are having the range. These like 20 to 30, 30 to 40 is the range, and the length of the bar represents the frequency. The next commonly used graphical method for presenting the data is frequency polygon. Again, it is used to present interval and ratio data. To construct a frequency polygon, you need to mark the frequencies on the vertical axis and the values of variable being measured on the horizontal axis, and then we join all the points of the frequency polygon, and we create a diagram which is similar to the shape of a polygon. So this is the example of a frequency polygon. Here For each range we have marked the frequencies and we have joined all the frequencies, and the shape of this diagram is similar to a polygon. Next is ogives. So ogives is based upon the cumulative frequency distribution. It is used when one wants to determine how many observations lie above or below a certain value of distribution. The first cumulative frequency distribution is constructed, then cumulative frequencies are plotted at the upper class limit of each categories, and ogives can be constructed for relative frequency distribution as well. So this is a figure of ogives. Next graphical representation method is pie chart. So pie chart is an effective way for displaying the percentage breakdown of each category. It is very useful if the relative sizes of data components are to be emphasized, and pie charts also provide an effective way for presenting ratio interval scale data that has been organized into different categories. So this is an example of pie chart where there are different categories are shown, like the expenditure of funds is shown, and each sector represents the range, each sector represents the extent or the range of each category. Next is bar chart. So bar chart is another common method used for graphical presentation of nominal and ordinal scale data. One bar is used to represent the frequency of each category. The bars are usually positioned vertically with the bases located on the horizontal axis. The bars are separated, and this is why such graph is frequently used in nominal or ordinal data. So this is an example of bar chart. Here you can see the bars are vertically placed and they are vertically separated from each other, and the y-axis represents the frequency of the components that are under the study. The next is the time series graph. So time series graphs is a graph of data that have been measured over a period of time. The horizontal axis of this graph represents time periods, and the vertical axis shows the numerical values corresponding to these time periods. So time series graph is usually seen when you are studying stock markets over a period of time, or if you are trying to understand the pattern of sales over a period of time. So this is an example of time series graph where the company is trying to understand the corporate revenue over a different years, like different periods of time. So that's all in this lecture. Thank you.